My name is Brandi Gosnay, and I'm the director for Achieve 180. Today, we're going to go on a journey learning about the volume of prisms and pyramids. Have you ever had a water bottle and wanted to know how much water you could fit inside? Or maybe you have a sandbox and you want to know how much sand you need to put inside. That all has to do with volume. Today, we'll go on a journey looking at the volume of prisms and pyramids together. Let's give a few a try. Today we're talking about volume, but before we start talking about volume, we need to know the definition. The definition is the number of cubic units needed to fill a space. So anytime I'm talking about volume, I want to know how many cubes I can put in that space to fill it all the way up. That will be important today. Also, anytime that we are talking about volume, we're talking about cubic units. So sometimes you may see centimeters cubed, or inches cubed, or feet cubed. These are all of your dimensions. So all of our answers that we calculate today for volume will also have the exponent of 3, which means that we have cubic units. Our formula, because we're going to start out working with prisms first, our formula is volume equals the area of the base times the height. B always stands for the area of the base. In our example down here, we have a rectangular prism. Therefore, our base is a rectangle. So if I want to find capital B, I have to find the area of a rectangle, and area equals length times width. So the area of the base is A equals length times width. Then the height from the bottom of the prism all the way to the top is 2 feet. So the height of our prism is 2, so you would put in a 2 for H. So this is our formula we're going to use as we explore prisms. Our first example, we have a rectangular prism. The bottom of our shape is a rectangle. So we call this a rectangular prism. We learned that our formula to calculate volume is V equals capital B times H. And we just found out that the capital B stands for area of the base. In our shape, they already have the base shaded in for you. So this is the bottom of our shape, and over here is going to be the top. So I like to start by drawing my base. I always draw the base first when I'm calculating volume. 3 centimeters, 5 centimeters. If I want to know the area of this base, I would say A equals length times width. A for area equals 3 times 5. So our area is 15 centimeters squared. When we substitute this 15 in for the capital B, then we have just one piece left. So V is 15 times the height. How tall is this prism? So from the bottom all the way to the top, it's 18 centimeters. So our height is actually 18. So we put in 18 where we see our H. Our last step, we just need to multiply. So take a minute and you try to do 15 times 18 at home. Let's see if we get the same answer. I got that the volume of this rectangular prism is 270 centimeters cubed. 270 centimeters cubed. All we did was we found the area of this rectangle Then we multiplied by the height of the prism, and we know that our volume is 270 centimeters cubed. Let's try one more. Prism. If you look at this one, it's a little bit different. If you see, we have two triangles here. Anytime you have a triangle within a prism, you have what we call a triangular prism. Our base is a triangle, so the bottom and the top of our prism is a triangle. So if I want to know how tall this is with the height of the prism, I would go from the bottom triangle all the way to the top triangle, and I would find out that it's 11 inches. So the height is 11 inches. Our formula stays the same. V equals capital B times H. Remember, I like to draw the base out to the side. Makes it easier for me. The length is 8 inches. The height of the triangle is 4 inches. And the big B tells me I have to find the area of this triangle. If I go to my formula chart, I know that area of a triangle is 1/2 times base times height. So if I substitute my numbers, I'm going to say 1/2 times 8 times 4. I always take care of my whole numbers first. That's my personal preference. And I save the fractions for last. So I know that 8 times 4 is 32. So I say I need to find out 1/2 of 32. The way you get a half of something is you divide it by 2. So if I take 32 and divide by 2, I will get 16. So the area of this triangle is 16 inches squared. So I'm going to take the 16 and substitute it in for my capital B. So V for volume equals 16 times, remember we found out the height of the prism was 11. We just have one thing left to do. We need to multiply 16 times 11. Let's do that real quick. 1 times 6 is 6. 1 times 1 is 1. Placeholder. 1 times 6, 1 times 1, add them up. So I know the volume of this triangular prism is 176 inches cubed. Again, all of our volume answers will have an exponent of 3. They should all have dimensions that are cubed. So we have 176 inches cubed. So let's think back on these last two problems that we've done. How were they different? Because I know they were the same, that we used the same formula each time. Area of the base times the height. But if you think about it, they had different bases. Each shape had a different base. One shape had a rectangle for a base. The second shape had a triangle for the base. We used the same formula, but we calculated big B in a different way. If I want to find the area of the base of a rectangle, I have to do length times width. If I need to find area of the base, which is a triangle, then I do 1/2 base times height. So we use the same formula, but the big B is the key to finding the volume of prisms. Depending on the base, that formula will change for big B. But in the end, this is the formula that we used. All prisms can be solved getting the volume V equals big B times H. Our second type of three-dimensional figure that we will be looking at are pyramids. If you remember, we looked at our pyramids at the very beginning. It only has one base, and then its triangles all come up to one point. So there isn't a second base at the top like a prism. So a pyramid only comes up to one point called the apex. When you are trying to find the volume of a pyramid, you still have to calculate the area of the base times the height. But for pyramids, we all have to get 1/3 of that product. So 1/3 times the area of the base times the height. So the difference in the prism formula from earlier and our pyramid is this 1/3. And remember, if we're getting 1/3 of something, that just means we're dividing by 3. So today, when we're working with our pyramids, we'll be doing 1/3 times the base, area of the base, times the height. Let's try one out. Our first example, if you notice our base down at the bottom is a square. So we call this a square pyramid. I like to draw out the base to the side. So I'm going to draw a square. The dimensions are 6 yards by 6 yards. So we have a new formula. V equals 1/3 area of the base times the height. So I like to save the 1/3 till the end. So I'm going to divide by 3 at the end. But I can figure out the capital B right now because I know the area of this base is 6 times 6 because I get the area of a square by multiplying the two sides. And that is 36 yards squared. So I have 1/3 times 36 times. Now I want to know the height of the pyramid. This is very tricky, or it can be. In our shape, we only have one extra number, so it's not that tricky. But you start at the very top, at this point, the apex. And then you want to go all the way down to the base. If I start at the top and I go all the way down to the base, it tells me that that is 6 yards. So my height is 6 yards. You have to start at the point and go all the way down to the base. So for H, I'm going to put a 6. You can multiply these numbers in any order that you want. But for me, I save the fractions till the end. So I'm going to start out with 36 times 6. So you go ahead on your paper and do 36 times 6. Let's see if we get the same answer. I got 216. So I have volume equals 1/3 of 216. So if I want to get 1/3 of 216, all I need to do is divide by 3. So you take your 216, divide it by 3. 3 doesn't go into 2. 3 goes into 21 7 times. Do a little subtraction, bring down my 6. 3 times what will get me 6? 3 times 2. And I don't have a remainder. So now I know that V equals, when I do 216 divided by 3, I get 72. The volume of this square pyramid is 72 yards. And I know you didn't forget the cubed. We have to have that exponent of 3. 72 yards cubed. So the only difference between the prism formula and the pyramid formula is this 1/3. We had to do an extra step. We had to divide by 3. So we're going to practice a couple of these. But everything else was the same. I still drew my base out to the side. I still got the area of my base. I needed to find out what the height of my pyramid was. And then finally, you get 1/3 of it and divide by 3. Let's try another one. Okay, this is not a square pyramid. If you look at your base, our dimensions are different. So this is a rectangular pyramid. The first thing I'm going to do is draw my base out to the side. Makes life easy. And label it. I have 4 inches and 9 inches. So I'm going to write down my formula. Remember, I have a pyramid because I'm coming up to one point. I only have one base. And the shape goes up to 1 point, so I have a pyramid. So V equals 1/3 times the area of the base times the height. Remember, we're going to keep our fraction for the end. That makes life easy. Area of the base, here's our base right here. We have a rectangle. And we know that we need to do 4 times 9, which is 36 inches squared. So 1/3 times 36 for the capital B. Okay, what is the height of our pyramid? Remember, it has to go from the top of the pyramid all the way to the bottom. Our picture is showing us that 6 inches is the height of our pyramid. So for H, I'm going to put a 6. So now I'm ready to multiply. You can multiply in any order, but I like to save the fraction for last. 36 times 6 is 216. So V equals 1/3 times 216. So our last step, we have to get 1/3 of 216. Remember, if we have 1/3, we have to divide by 3. So 216 divided by 3. 3 doesn't go into 2. 3 goes into 21 7 times. Little subtraction. Bring down your 6. 3 goes into 6 twice. We don't have a remainder. So the volume of this rectangular pyramid is 72 inches cubed. If you noticed, we had 2 examples that came out with the same exact volume. I had a square pyramid and I had a rectangular pyramid. The height was the same. The area of the base was the same. So remember that we can have different shapes that come out with the same volume. We did that here with our square pyramid and our rectangular pyramid. Now, are you ready for a challenge? The triangular pyramid. If you notice, our base is a triangle. This one can be tricky, just trying to see the shape and notice where the base is and where the height is. But this is a triangular pyramid. If you look at the shape, there are no rectangles in this shape. We only have triangles. When you see a shape that is made of only triangles, you're talking about a triangular pyramid. It has one base, that's a triangle, and they all meet at one top at the apex. So we still have a pyramid, so we're doing volume equals 1/3 times the area of the base times the height. Remember, I always want to draw the base, so I'm going to draw this triangle. And it tells me this is the height. It's 6 meters long, so I'm going to put a 6 meters. It tells me that the height of the triangle right here is 3 meters. This is my base. I have to determine the area of the base. So if I'm going to get the area of a triangle, I do 1/2 times base times height. That is 1/2. The base is 6. The height is 3. Remember, I said I like to do the fractions at the very end. So I'm going to look at my whole numbers, and I have 18. 6 times 3 is 18. So A equals 1/2 times 18. If I'm getting half of something, I divide it by 2. So if I divide 18 by 2, I'm going to get 9. So the area of the base is 9 meters. So I'm going to say V equals 1/3. The capital B will be 9, so times 9. The height. How tall is this pyramid? You start from the top, you go all the way to the bottom. So I go from the top to the bottom. It's telling me that it's 5 meters. So 5 meters is the height. So for H, I'll put a 5. Again, fractions at the end. So 1/3 times, what's 9 times 5? 45. Then finally, if I want to get 1/3 of something, I divide it by 3. 45 divided by 3. 3 goes into 4 once. 3 goes into 15 5 times. So we know that our volume of this triangular pyramid is 15 meters cubed. 15 meters cubed is the volume. We did 1/3 times the area of the base times the height, and your volume ends up being 15 meters cubed. See, pyramids aren't that hard after all. We've had the chance to explore the volume of both the prisms and the pyramids today, knowing that there was one big difference. Whenever I'm looking at prisms, all I need to do is calculate the area of the base and multiply it by the height of the shape. Whenever I'm working with a pyramid, I have to calculate the area of the base, multiply it by the height of the pyramid, and then I have to get 1/3 of that. And we know that getting 1/3 means that we divide by 3. So I hope that today has been informative and you've learned a lot. And I look forward to seeing you next week whenever we talk about surface area.